Hello, friends. We hope all of you are doing good and safe at home. In this podcast, we'll be presenting uh, our take on the special procedure that has recently been introduced for all corporate debtors undergoing the corporate insolvency resolution process, CIRP, under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. We'll be covering the background, what triggered out this special procedure to be brought in place. We'll present each of the special procedure and our take on that. And then we'll also be covering the issues that have not so been addressed in the special procedure. Coming on to the background, so in a normal insolvency process, a corporate debtor is the one who owns the debt to a third party. When such corporate debtor defaults in making the payment of the committed debt, the third party takes the corporate debtor to an insolvency proceeding before the National Company Law Tribunal, which is the adjudicating authority, NCLT. NCLT admits the application and initiates the corporate insolvency resolution process against such corporate debtor. Once the CIRP gets initiated, independent professionals, which is interim resolution professional followed by resolution professional, are introduced to ensure that the business of corporate debtor is carried out by them on a normal going concern basis. The result of these independent professionals is to ensure that either the company recovers and performs its business operation as normal, or ultimately gets into a liquidation. In this entire process, the IBC and GST has a contradiction. The contradiction is that, as mentioned, the IBC requires the IRP or RP to manage the business operations of a corporate debtor on a going concern basis, specifically post the CIRP proceedings are in a way. A going concern basis would naturally means all the sale purchase transactions are normally done, the procurement of assets, payment of creditors are normally carried out, and also the applicable taxes are paid as normal. Section 39 of GST Act provides that a return for a period cannot be filed until the returns for past periods are filed. To such an extent, if we try and interpreting it both, GST compliance for post CIRP period cannot be done till the GST compliance for past CIRP period is done. So therefore, until and unless the pre-CIRP period, all GST liabilities are paid, returns are filed, till then post CIRP period compliance cannot be done. To such an extent, there are difficulties faced by IRP and RP in carrying out the business of the corporate debtor on going concern basis, as taxes cannot be paid, returns cannot be filed. Thus, GST contradicts with IBC, as it does not consider the existence of a moratorium period under the IBC, and also the fact that Section 238 of the IBC has an overriding effect to any other provision which is inconsistent with the IBC. So therefore, GST has an inherent contradiction with IBC in as much as the process requires payment of past dues only to get to the following returns and following compliances. To such an extent, the IRPs and RPs face difficulties in carrying out the business of corporate debtor on a going concern basis, as they have a moratorium-based period for making the payment of past dues, and till that period is there, they cannot be making payment of past dues, and for the future period, they are not able to file the returns, as GST provides that future returns can only be filed till the past return is filed. So therefore, there's a contradiction. In past, several IRPs have taken this plea and have gone before the NCLT, and NCLT has even directed the GST department to either open the GST portal or accept manual filings. This has been a lot of controversial issue in the past. So the GST Council was under a lot of pressure to introduce some specific guidelines for all these corporate debtors under the CIRP proceedings. In this lieu, notification 11 of 2020 dated 21st of March was introduced, which was followed by a circular. The notification prescribed that corporate debtors and corporate debtors undergoing the CIRP will be regarded as two distinct persons. So corporate debtors under CIRP and managed by IRP or RRP will, for this notification and for the purpose of our discussion, will be referred as a class of person which is distinct from the corporate debtor. For such class of person, the notification provides for separate procedure, special procedure for registration, filing of first return, and input tax rate. We'll be discussing all these three procedures and what are the takes on these. So for the first procedure for registration, the notification prescribes that such class of person shall be required to seek a new registration in all the states where corporate debtor is currently registered. Such registration needs to be sought within 30 days from appointment of IRP. In case where RP has already been appointed, registration needs to be taken within 30 days of the notification. However, the effective date of registration shall still remain from the date of appointment of IRP. Now, this entire notification, there is no provision what happens to the existing registration. Once a new registration is taken, what shall be done? Shall the existing registration of the corporate debtor cease to be non existence? Would the corporate debtor still be required to make compliances? There is no clarity over that. We suggest that in absence of no clarity, the corporate debtors can continue to file annual returns with the old registrations. Given the fact of the present situation of COVID, there is no relaxation as far as taking the registration is concerned. So therefore, all IRPs would be required to take into action and would be required to file for the registration application by 20th of April, which is 30 days from the date of notification. So this compliance needs to be necessarily done. Second procedure pertains to filing of first return. The notification prescribes the class of persons to file the first return under Section 40 of the CGST Act. Such return shall cover the transaction from the date of being liable to registration till the date when the registration is granted. Importantly, there is no format in which the first return needs to be filed. So therefore, such returns can be filed only in Form GSTR 3B. What is important to note that is the language that is used in notification for filing of first return is from the date of being liable for registration. This contrasts with the language which is used for registration as from the date of appointment of IRP. So therefore, while the registration is taken from the date of appointment of IRP, first return covering the tax liabilities to be paid needs to be done only from the date of notification, because the notification effectively builds a liability for the corporate debtors under the CIRP. So therefore, first return in our view needs to be filed only from 21st of March till the date of grant of registration and not before that. Third special procedure which the notification talks about is input tax credit. The notification lays down two specific things. One is that such class of persons shall be entitled, it makes a class of person entitled to avail credit on all the supplies received post the appointment of IRP, but bearing the old registration number. So therefore, all the invoices that have been received post appointment of IRP and RP with the old registration number of corporate debtor, the new registration will still be entitled to take all the credits. Secondly, it also allows the recipient of corporate debtors to avail credit on all the invoices which bears the invoice number of the corporate old registration number of the corporate debtor. However, there is a restriction to it that such credit can be taken from the appointment of IRP till the date of registration or 20th of April. That is 30 days from the notification, whichever is earlier. What is key to note is that the notification doesn't lay out any condition for following Rule 36(4) in both the condition for taking this ITC. Therefore, two-way reconciliation need not be done. In our view, the notification is for sure a beneficial provision as far as it provides for entitlement of ITC. However, it goes against the very grain from the liability which is enforced from the date of being liable for registration, while the ITC is granted again from a prior date from the appointment of IRP. So there is a contrast that notification only creates, something that the government needs to cover up with and clarify. Secondly, the restriction which it imposes on the corporate debtors or on the recipients of the corporate debtors, as we mentioned earlier, that the current situation of COVID, it may so happen that all the corporate debtors undergoing CIRP may not be able to take registration by April 20th. So therefore, there is no clarity what happens if the registration is not taken by April 20th, and if supplies are still made. As per the notification, there shall be a restriction for all the recipient to avail credit post on the invoices which are issued post April 20th. That's a restriction, and that should be again clarified by the government. Well, all these three issues are there, and there has certain clarification. We believe there are a couple of issues which would require a greater detailing from the government side. Firstly, is that the entire procedure has been announced with respect to the corporators undergoing CIRP, and once CIRP is closed, there is no clarity what happens to the either existing registration or the consequences. What if the balance, if there is ITC balance in the credit ledger, the notification is silent on these aspects. The notification is also silent on the aspect that what happens in case the corporate debtor is undergoing the compliance in a routine manner post CIRP also, filing its return, making payment of tax liabilities, availing credit. So if the notification has to be followed strictly, would it require all the transactions to be under in one registration and redone in another registration? And if that be the case, then what shall be the consequences of the tax liability already discharged, ITC availed, or balance in credit ledger? There's no clarity on these aspects. So I believe that we believe that there are a lot of uncertainties in this entire special procedure that have been announced. While it's a noble cause, but there are a lot of complications to it. We would certainly believe that the government may come up with certain more clarification on all of these aspects, so as to make the life of corporate debtors undergoing CRP more easy and more clear. We thank you for listening to this podcast. If you have any concern, please reach out to us, and we will welcome your suggestions on this. Thank you again. Be at home and be safe.